afternoon, North Carolina 4-H. Wow, it is such an incredible feeling to be standing up here in front of you all today for 4-H Congress 2014. Who has had a great Congress so far? A year ago, when you all elected me to serve as your state 4-H council reporter, I never, in my wildest dreams, could have imagined some of the incredible opportunities, just like this one, that I would have as I've served our state's wonderful 4-H program. Getting to travel the state, visiting program donors and elected officials, getting to eat at some pretty cool restaurants, thanks Miss Shannon and Miss Sarah, getting to celebrate the centennial of cooperative extension, or, my personal favorite, getting to go to NC State and stand in the game tunnel right before a football game. I think my state officer team will agree when I say that you have not experienced the feeling of pure adrenaline and exhilaration until you've experienced something like that. So naturally, with so many unique opportunities, I began to wonder how in the world I was going to pick the single most important thing that I've done or learned as a state officer to share with you all. The question became, if I had one last thing to share with the entire North Carolina 4-H delegation, what would it be? Well, I decided that today I'm going to tell you a story. Now, this is not your traditional 4-H story about a shy young girl who gained confidence and leadership skills by joining her local 4-H club, forever after dedicating her head, heart, hands, and health to making the best better. You all know that story already. Because while that was me, that was also many of you. Instead, I'm going to tell you a different story, one that impacted me as I've served on my leadership journey and helped shape my entire philosophy on what it means to be a leader. And it's a story that I hope will have a similar effect on some of you. Our story takes place in Spain, off a beautiful beach known as the Costa Brava. Now, all along this beach, for miles and miles, thousands upon thousands of starfish have washed up on the beach, where, unable to fight the unusually strong ocean current, they would dry up and die. So one day, a young man is walking along the beach, and he's doing something kind of odd. He's walking a couple feet, bending down, gently picking up a starfish, and throwing it out into the ocean. And he does this over and over again, walking a couple feet, scooping up the starfish, and throwing it far out into the safety of the ocean's depths. So as he's doing this, he encounters an older gentleman approaching from the opposite direction. And the older man watches him for a moment curiously before asking the obvious question, "Why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" Well, the young man replies, "Because the sun is up and the tide is going out, and if I don't throw them further in, they'll die." And the older man looks at the younger as if he's lost his mind. "But son," he says, "don't you realize that there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You can't possibly save them all. You can't even save 1/10 of them. In fact, even if you work all day long, your efforts won't really make any difference at all." And the young man pauses respectfully for a moment to consider the old man's words. But then, with a knowing smile, he bends down, he picks up another starfish, and he throws it far out into the ocean. And looking back at the old man, he says, "I made a difference to that one." I think this really speaks of our leadership journeys. I first heard this story when I was in one of my college classes from one of my instructors, and she said that this story shaped her entire teaching philosophy. She knew that she couldn't possibly impact every single student that walked into her classroom. But she said that her teaching was worth it for the one student every semester whose life she touched. The thought was so inspiring to me, and it wasn't long before I tried to find ways to apply this to my own life. And immediately, as it so often does, 4-H came to mind. You see, as leaders in 4-H, even as young, enthusiastic leaders with brilliant ideas and a willingness to serve, sometimes we get burnt out. We work and put forth enormous amounts of effort that don't always seem to have a very big effect. We pour our hearts and souls into leadership and yet wonder, am I really making a difference? Well, the answer is yes, but not always in the way that you think. One of the things that I shared as I traveled the state visiting counties to speak about leadership this year was that as a leader, you can't make a difference to everybody, but you can make a difference to somebody. So how do we make this difference? How do we live our lives so that we can make a difference, maybe not to everybody, but to somebody? Well, sometimes it's through a workshop or a service project or even a speech, but more often than not, it's the small things that we do as a leader and as an individual that make a world of difference to that one person, that one starfish, if you will. Maybe it's smiling at somebody as you pass them in the hall. Maybe it's complimenting someone you've never met before, not in a creepy way. Maybe it's going out of your way to talk to the new kid in 4-H, or including that one person that always seems to be left out of things. Maybe it's a handshake, a pat on the back, or a hug. Maybe it's as easy as telling someone they did a great job, or maybe it's as simple as saying thank you. I'll never forget last year when I was serving as a district officer and attended my district activity day, and I had someone do just that. The awards ceremony was over, we were wrapping up and tying up some loose ends before we all headed home to our respective counties in the West District. And a young girl that I'd never seen before approached me. She was about 13 or 14, and she came up a little shy and said, "Thank you for everything you've done today." Now, I'll admit, I was a little speechless. I mean, they were such simple words from a stranger, but the way that she said them made me feel as if I was the most accomplished leader that ever existed. I may not have made a difference to everybody that day, but I seem to have made a difference to her. I made a difference to somebody, and as a leader, that is the greatest thing that you can ask for. So as we look back at our leadership accomplishments, it's natural for us to critique ourselves. Looking back over my state officer term, I feel like I have been successful. But I'm not successful because I changed the world, and I'm not successful because I made a difference to every single 4-H'er's life. Instead, I'm successful because of the time that I inducted my best friend into Honor Club. Because of the time my brother told me that I was his role model in 4-H. Because of the young girl whose day I made by publishing her photo in the State Council newsletter. Or the young county 4-H'er who came up to me after an event and said that I inspired her to run for state office someday. Or the time I had a friend, completely out of the blue, tell me that he looked forward so much to seeing the uplifting things I posted on social media about 4-H and other things because they made him feel better about the world. It is the small things that we do that make the difference to others and make us great leaders. Somewhere in this room right now, whether you realize it or not, somebody is thinking of something that you did or said that may not have made a difference to everyone. You may not have thought that it made a difference to anyone, but it sure made a difference to them. I challenge you to find these people that have made you their starfish. Tell them the impact that they've had on your life, because the most beautiful thing happens when someone makes a difference to you and you let them know it. They have a tendency to make a difference to you too. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to some of the people who have made a difference to me. First of all, thank you to God, for without him, I would not be here. He has blessed me and allowed me to be successful. Thank you to the many friends that I've made through 4-H. You guys have become like family, and you guys have supported me and encouraged me every step of the way. Also, I'd like to say a special thank you to my family, and if they would please come up on stage, Mom, Dad, Anthony, and Hannah, and Nana, if you guys would all please come up. You'll go around the right side, or left side of the stage. They have picked me up and thrown me back into the ocean many, many times. And if it weren't for Mom one day deciding that I should try out this thing called 4-H, I would probably not be here. So let's give them a moment as they come to the stage. They weren't expecting this. They had no idea. I would like to present you guys with this. This is a thank you to say for everything that you guys have done. You guys have been my support and backbone, and I appreciate it. So. Yes. And last but not least, I have one final thank you that deserves to be said. Thank you, North Carolina 4-H. You guys are so amazing, and I cannot wait to see the incredible differences that you guys are going to make in people's lives as you continue your own lives as 4-Hers. You all have made a difference to me, and I will forever be a very, very grateful starfish. Thank you.
Your 2013-2014 State Reporter. Your 2013-2014 State 4-H Reporter, Marie Vagnozzi. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I can honestly say that it's been a true honor to serve beside you. And throughout the year, you have had an impact and made a difference in all three of our lives, serving beside you as a state officer. You have kept us organized, on task, and reminded us to laugh at ourselves and have fun through it all. You have done a wonderful job with our social media and capturing this year through your photos, especially as many wonderful photos you take, and our State Council newsletter. You've done a lot of work that will never get public credit for, but know that we know you have made a difference for so many. Let's give Anne-Marie one more round of applause.